everyone. Welcome to the speaker series presented by the Entrepreneurs Forum, which is a weekly event featuring industry leaders held every Thursday on Zoom. It's designed for learning and networking. We are open to guest speakers and applications are welcome post-episode. So make sure to join us. This occurs every Thursday. So the first Thursday of each month is the Financial Canvas with Boris Blum. The second Thursday is Radiant Resilience with Jessica Carwatt, and she prioritizes your health with your business. The third Thursday of each month is Tech Horizons with Casey Millhouse, where you can stay ahead of the latest technology trends. And that brings us to the fourth Thursday of each month. This is the Marketing Maverick with Fritz Collinet. And today's guest that he has with him is the lovely Uchenna Agu. Welcome, Fritz and Uchenna. Turn it over.
Hey, well, lovely is always a nice thing to start off with, but thank you.
Thank you. That was fantastic. It's always lovely to be complimented early in the morning for us here in Houston, Texas. And we're here with Uchenna Agu, which is a fantastic person. If you haven't met him, I would strongly recommend that you reach out to him on any social media channel. You can find him. He is fantastic. He is what someone called a powerhouse, a tornado who walks in the room, right? And he always lights up the room. He's the only person that I know of that traveled the world not once, but twice. So, which is fantastic. So, Uchenna.
Fritz, what's happening, man? Thank you so much for having me. Anytime I have an opportunity to chat with you, to collaborate with you, it just makes all the difference in the world because you are Marketing Maverick. And I'll just start off by saying, I wish I knew you back when the Amazing Race craziness was going on, because I think we would have done some amazing things together. So now I'm challenging you. I'll start the whole thing off by challenging you to do amazing things with me moving forward.
2024 is going to be the amazing Uchenna and Fritz moving forward. How's that?
Yes. I love it.
I love it. It's fantastic. So, I want to get right into it. Your journey through corporate world to winning the Amazing Race is truly remarkable. Can you share with our audience how that experience reshaped your perspective on life, career aspirations, and goals and challenges?
You just jump right in, did you? You just jump
yes,
right in.
We don't have a lot of time, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So let's get right to it.
Okay, I'll jump right into it. I've been thinking about that, and that's a pretty common question people are asking, like, that transition from all the craziness of TV and all that stuff. And, that experience really happened as a function of having our line in the water. And I'll explain that. I just recently heard a story about, I can't remember the guy that was telling it, but anyway, the bottom line is it was about a story about a young man who was on the shore fishing and for hours wasn't catching anything. And then a gentleman who had been watching him for hours walks up and says, "Hey, son, you're not catching anything, are you?" And the kid says, "Well, no." He goes, "Because you're doing it wrong." And the kid goes, "What?" And then he goes, "You can catch more fish after the falling of the tide." And what that means is the tide's rushing out, and what it does is kicks up a bunch of plankton. But most people will go away because they think the fish are gone too. But that's the time to put your line in the water, because the fish come and feed when it looks like there's no opportunity, right? And that is sort of a metaphor for, and they caught all kinds of fish, right? They caught all kinds of fish. And the old man was like, it's kind of a metaphor for life. When things seem to be falling apart is the best time to put your line in the water. And so to tell you a little bit about, my wife and I was working for Enron. So that just went down. She was working for WorldCom. that was going down.
Oh, wow.
And we were faced with like, man, what are we going to do? You know, struggling. Oh, everything's falling apart around us. And we put our line in the water, something that most people didn't think you should do at that point in time. Hey, let's go get on a reality TV show and travel the world. You got no money, right?
That
So
must have been an interesting conversation, right?
it was, because I was the guy saying, what? Come on. And she's like, all right, we're putting our line in the water. And amazingly, no pun intended, you know, we refinanced the house so we wouldn't have a mortgage for a month. We got chosen to be on. And we did this incredible adventure that truly changed our perspective on the world, life, and the way we move forward as well. And I constantly have to remind myself of that story because you know how life is. Things happen and you kind of sink back into the comfort zone and you realize that the most incredible experiences in your life most of the time happen after some sort of fall. If you've applied some sort of courage. Now I'm talking to myself right now as well, right?
So you applied courage?
Blind courage and
Blind.
the level of vulnerability that goes with that. I mean, I was more scared going on that adventure than I was losing my job and her losing her job and the risk of losing everything. That was the vulnerability of having millions of people possibly see you fall on your face is a daunting task, you know, and I could have chose the comfort of dealing with the stresses of things that you think you can control, or go out here and, again, by putting my line in the water, getting out there and just seeing what would happen and taking that risk turned into what it did, you know.
You know, it's amazing that you say, you know, taking the risk, kind of getting out there and really kind of putting yourself in, you know, hypothetically in harm's way, right? Like emotionally,
Physically.
and not really knowing, you know, what's behind door number one, door number two, no, door number three. And life is like that, right? Life, you really don't know what's behind door number one. You can forecast, you can speculate, right? So during the race, like what were some of the, you know, challenges that you had to personally overcome, or what was the hardest challenge during that race or in your life during that time while you were in the program?
I think one of the hardest things is, I'll use a term, a friend of mine and I really kind of back and forth, is the word surrender. Going into these situations and relying completely on what you think you know and having trust in that and not having any, you know, there wasn't a lifeline call, or there was, you know, it's like, let's just go in and let's do what we can do at the best level or the highest level we can do it, and put aside this crazy word that we deal with all the time called doubt. Doubt is the enemy of progress, right? And believe me, it's funny because as we're talking through this, I'm talking to myself because I'm actually, you know, just like everyone else, I'm going through different things. I'm like, you know what? I just had doubt this morning, you know, but that was probably the biggest hurdle. And you would think, oh, the challenges, oh, you know, being lost all the time. I mean, it was really about how you deal with adversity and overcoming the doubt or the fears and stepping forward in the face of, I mean, what's going to happen next? I could lose. I could, you know, and one of the other sidelines is, you know, you have these cameras that are around you. And believe me, after the first 10 minutes of this challenge, this journey, you forget all about that. It's all about what's going on right in front of you. And you learn to be present. That's the other big thing, is being present. We spend a lot of our time, you know, thinking about what just happened in life, what just happened, who just did it to us, or what's about to happen, what's coming, what bill is on its way, so on and so forth. but hardly are we ever where we're supposed to be, right where we are. And that is, once you get that down and just get focused on being present, it's amazing what you see, the colors you can see, the joy that you can have, the people and the relationships get stronger when you're more present. So those are that's a long answer to a short question.
No, that was fantastic, because it kind of segued right into, the journey that you went through.
Mhm.
How did that translate into the business world, as a speaker, as a coach, right? You did a lot of, focus on teamwork, on adventure travel, living boldly. Your experience during this challenge, how did that translate into your speaking, into your business, into your next step?
Well, that's a good question. The speaking really wasn't an intent. So it's like we went into the Amazing Race to kind of clear our heads and, of course, see if we could refill the coffers, because we are unemployed people out there doing something kind of wild, rolling the dice, right? Um, but the speaking, specifically, the intent for speaking sort of came out of opportunity, right? So CBS sent us out on PR things, and we did a thing called the Upfronts, where all of their customers got to meet us, and then public appearances and so on and so forth. And then came the requests. Hey, could you come talk to us over here at Procter & Gamble? Hey, would you like to be the first people to speak at our whatever and keynote here? And then, of course, we had to pull it together. And that's where we realized that there were stories, there were the experience that we went through translates to life experience. I think I've shared with people that the Amazing Race, that sort of pressure cooker, is a miniature, like a microcosm of how we live our life in a day-to-day basis. But everything sort of happens all at once on this TV show. But on a day-to-day basis, we have the same challenges. Do we trust ourselves? Do we trust our coworkers? Is the thing that we're doing important enough for me to spend all my energy or take the risk of moving forward? And all of these experiences sort of translate over, and then we were able to construct, hey, this is what happened in the race, and this is what's going on in your office scenario. Like, just as an example, we were brought in when M&M Mars had merged with, I think, Wrigley or something like that, and there was this whole sucking of talent and energy out of their organization because there was some overlap. So people were standing by the water cooler wondering if they were going to get fired next instead of doing their job. So we were brought in, or I was brought in to address that, and it turned into a talk about bringing your talent, because you were brought there for a reason. And the people that are bringing their talent will keep their jobs. The people that aren't and focused on losing their jobs will indeed lose their jobs. And it was just kind of that one of those things where people had to have that aha moment and go, oh, okay, well, maybe I need to show up instead of waiting for the pendulum to swing my way. So that's how those talks.
Showing up is really important for, in life, business, personal life, boldly looking into the future, and focusing in the moment. I agree with you 100%. So during these speaking engagements, what was like the most memorable moment or lesson from these experiences, whether it's a speaking engagement, or on, a keynote, or being on a co-host on a show?
I think in all situations, I really try to approach with the spirit of contribution. I think if I'm looking to get something out of it, it has a whole different vibe. When I walk into a room, when I'm on with you, I'm looking to see how I can contribute, and that is where the magic sort of happens. Um, I think one of the big lessons I learned in speaking is that everybody's afraid of stepping out there and sort of talking to people. But I go into it as if I'm talking to one person. It can be 3,000 people in the room, and I'm only really talking to one person. And I don't know how many times you've been to church or somewhere like that, and you think, golly, that pastor is speaking directly to me. And it's like, how does he know what I'm thinking? Well, it's not that. It's the message is based on where his heart is, not where he's trying to get to you, right? So most speakers that I've spoken with say if one person in the room has a shift, I've done my job. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean,
So, you're such a powerful force in the room, and all this knowledge. Were you always like this? Like, it almost seems that you were born great, right? Was there before, like, what's the Uchenna before? Was he always, this motivational guy? Like, he got up in the morning and he just jumped up and, started moving about his day,
I
right?
want to meet that person if that is the person who does that. It's like, yeah, new day. Who can I motivate today? It's funny because I did grow up and most of my life an only child, and I'm relatively shy. In fact, when I got to college, the first couple of classes I wanted to take was psychology and what was it? Psychology and public speaking or something like that, just so I could like figure out people because I couldn't figure out me. And then sports, athletics kicked in through high school, and I don't see myself as a motivational guy. I see myself as a person who is making an effort to better himself every day, and just so happens that it's in the public eye. Therefore, people that are along the way are like, hey, I can get in tune with that. And then we sort of develop a tribe, and that momentum builds momentum. So I think just like coaching, life coaching, it's much therapy for me as it is me helping people connect. I think a lot of coaches kind of go in thinking, God, I gotta have all the answers. I gotta have all the connections, or I gotta have that magic bullet that'll change this person's life. Well, that happens when you're looking to contribute into each other. And there's a level of vulnerability that I'm willing to show from my life experience, my failures, as much, in fact, probably more my failures that help connect with people so that they can have that wonderful word that's the teachable word is hope.
So I love that one word, hope, right? So why life coaching? Why not just do something else? Or why?
Well, like I said, it's therapy for me, okay, as well as it. I
So
get
one-on-one therapy.
Yes. I do one-on-one therapy. I primarily work with men, and I'm not trying to say we're the underserved community as men, but we underserve ourselves in the space of mental health and just levels of vulnerability. So coaching for me is a way to not only express myself, but to search myself, and in that process share myself with people so that they're open to share themselves with me. And once we can do that, especially men, I mean, we live in a society where the last thing a man wants to be perceived as is weak. But the things that it takes to kind of move forward and do the great things that all of us are capable of doing requires vulnerability. And so vulnerability and weakness are almost synonymous in our society. So my goal when I'm coaching men is to explore the term vulnerability, because I mean words matter, right? and then explore what weakness means. So, and then go into courage and how courage fits into that, because everybody wants to be, courageous. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to make things happen, but we want to do it from a level of comfortability. And I'm no different than that. I mean, and from that comfortability requires nothing of you, and you're definitely not going to make change, not only on your own life, but in others' lives, if you're not willing to be courageous. And believe me, I'm talking to myself. Okay. It's crazy. As I'm thinking, I'm thinking, okay, I can see where I'm slacking off. Oh yeah. As I'm saying this, right? So it's correct. That's the coaching. As in coaching, I coach myself, right?
So is there one thing, one pearl that you can, grant to the audience, just how to, whether it's overcome an obstacle, a particular obstacle, to help them go past that, right? Or maybe a story of how you, one of the challenges you had and how you overcame that challenge.
One of the things I can say is tap into your passion, because instead of pushing through things, sometimes it's so much more fluid to let your passion pull you through things, pull you forward. That's just one. And I think one of the biggest gifts my mother gave me, and she exhibited this, besides teaching me hope, is that there is no place I don't belong. So that's the difference between belonging and fitting in. So like fitting in is the enemy of belonging. Okay. Belonging means that you're coming with who you are, and the environment doesn't demand you to be any different than who you are when you're there. Fitting in requires you to change who you are to be a part of something which is not sustainable to begin with. And it allows you to be moved by social media, how many likes you got, and so on and so forth, right? So if I left the nugget with you, the bottom line is be who you are, and there's no place that you do not belong. Own it. Own who you are.
That's great. That's great. So it's really about, being authentic to yourself and building, the characteristics that make you great, and just amplifying those characteristics. It's
absolutely
like building your personal brand.
Absolutely. You're in the room for a reason. Own it and be that person that fits in this big puzzle of what's needed in the room, and then contribute. Just keep pouring in, and all the rest will start to happen.
I'm loving that. I'm loving that. That is fantastic. So, I want to kind of segue right into, some of your philanthropic efforts and, the Great Raise, your work with the Houston Food Bank, and the incredible impact that you've made with homelessness, feeding the poor. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the experience that that helped shape the community, or how your involvement with that particular activism?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because before going on The Amazing Race, I really thought that well, how can a single person make an impact, right? And I now, after circumventing the world and seeing all types of cultures, all types of levels of poverty and everything, all in a really short period of time, I realized that there's so many of all the people in the world. We're not that different. We're not that different in what we want for our families, for ourselves. I mean, Maslow's hierarchy of needs goes all the way around the world, right? And then coming back here, I realized that the impact that you can make is the impact that you choose to make, right? So whether it's loading up your backpack and taking water around and just giving water bottles to the homeless, to what we did. We produced a TV show, was like The Amazing Race in Houston, whereby we ended up raising $10 million for the Houston Food Bank. Didn't know that was going to happen. We had a great time doing it, but
That's amazing.
I realized that giving back and then figuring out ways to contribute, pour in, fills me up. And there's nobody here that could say seeing or doing something for someone else didn't raise your vibration personally. And that's where the jazz comes. So you can do it from whatever level you're at. If you don't have the money, yeah, but you have a sock drawer with too many socks in it, right?
Oh, yes,
You can go
do.
out and give socks to the guys that don't have socks out there on the street. I mean, you can contribute in so many different ways. It'll blow your mind. You don't have enough time in the day for the things that you can come up and think of. So I enjoy the process.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I know you from a personal standpoint, and you have such a big heart, and you always walk in the room. Like when you say pouring, I've seen you do it. So, and now when I'm hearing you talk about it, it's the way you do it is just so fantastic. So I'm always impressed, and and when you come to the room, we're always really excited to have you in the room with the team. So
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. It's funny because people say, "Oh man, that dude just won the Amazing Race. Wow, he just got," and that's external, right? So you have success, which is kind of measured by the external, and then you have satisfaction, which comes from the inside, right? So your internal satisfaction is what sustains you moving forward, even though you may have external success. It's great, but how does that feed your personal satisfaction? Because it's just like people think, oh, that person's on TV, so they're chasing the limelight. Well, if you look across the spectrum of people who have done amazing things or had great success, they were not seeking fame. They were not seeking adoration. They were seeking that thing in terms of doing it at its highest level for what they could do. And somehow the limelight found them to be an example to others. Mm-hmm. Then there's those who are like, oh, yeah, I just want to be famous, because that's kind of what we do right now with all the social media and everything. I want to be famous. I've had kids tell me, hey, what do you want to do with your life? Well, I want to be famous. Well, I mean, what is that, right? And then so putting some substance under it is what makes that sort of magic seem to happen. And again, I'm not looking for magic. I'm just looking for satisfaction, right?
That's a great way to put it, right? So now I know you were involved with Earth Trek, the Earth Trek program.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I'd like to, if you could touch on that a little bit, because it sounds real fascinating, and how involved with that program, and okay, the correlation between your past and
yeah, I'll share that with you, man. Because Earth Trek is really
the young minds, right?
Young minds, yeah. Exactly. Earth Trek is a game for 3rd to 5th graders, and it mirrors the curriculum in the schools, but it's amazing race design. So I got with some master teachers who invited me to participate in this. And basically what it does is it opens up the world for these young people. Just like the Amazing Race, you go from country to country and you do different things. And the kids get a little passport, and over the course of the year, they'll visit different countries. So like in China, they learn a few words of Chinese, they learn how to work the abacus, and they do just different things. They look at geography in China, and they put on their little passport the things they got to do. And they kind of go through this process. And we have something like 30 countries that they get to visit through the game. And the whole idea is to open up their minds and make the world just a little bit smaller and relatable. here's a statistic for you. I think it's like less than, and this is an old number that I had, but it may be better now, but less than 20% of Americans, natural born Americans, have passports. So we travel the world through the screen generally, right? So how are we going to go and touch the world? Because it's completely different walking the streets of Mumbai than seeing the streets on TV. Okay, it's a whole nother vibe, right?
I agree.
Um,
Travel is really important for everyone across the world because it connects everyone a little bit, right? And also
yes,
it's understanding of how that person, that society lives, and also giving folks grace,
right,
right?
right.
So
It opens the door for compassion. Um, you know, kids in other countries know more about the U.S. than kids in the U.S. knowing about the rest of the world. I mean, that's a horrible statistic as far as I'm concerned. But that's what the impetus was behind Earth Trek.
that is, I can't wait to learn more about Earth Trek and see how I can contribute and pour into Earth Trek.
Well, I can connect you with the team. I definitely can.
That sounds great. So you were in Hollywood, famous. You walk down the street, people asking you for your autograph, and it's, you're building this brand. People are kind of pulling you and pushing you in different ways. How are you able to stay grounded, during these challenges and a balance between, fame and your personal, your professional life? Because now with the internet, everyone wants to be internet famous, right? But how do you balance that out so you can stay grounded? And what tips or what kind of
Well,
path?
I'll tell you what, what I pray for on a regular basis is discernment. Okay. Being able to figure out what's, I like to put in these terms, what's the clown show and what's actually going to lead towards true personal satisfaction. I mean, because, there's a pie in the face show and thing to do pretty much anywhere you go, because in my mind, a lot of reality TV is based on sort of this shame society that we have. Just putting people out there in a way that helps you feel better about your own life. Remember the Maury Povich show back in the day? How bad can it be that you can watch on TV so that at home you don't feel so bad about your light bill being late, right? And so to get back to your question, it's like it's that whole success satisfaction thing. It's having the discernment to figure out what moves the needle in the way that you want to contribute to the world. So I haven't done any more shows because nothing really resonates, even though I do want to do Wipeout. Remember that show Wipeout, where you get all jacked up because the obstacle course. I don't know, for some reason I'm attracted to that. But other than
I
that,
have to look that one up.
Say again?
I'm gonna have to look that one up. I couldn't find
Oh,
that.
man, it's crazy. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it's just like when you're at home and you have these different options and the different things that are pulling you in different directions. You have to roll back to the discernment of, what really matters, and then because fame. I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles, so I've known some stars, and I've seen them go through the ups and downs that anybody else goes through, but they do it in a public space, and that's even harder. Kind of can drive you a little bit nutty, I would imagine. I've never been Tom Cruise though, even though that wouldn't be bad, right?
That wouldn't be bad either, because then I would know Tom Cruise. So
right. We don't know what he's living, the life he's lived, right? But that's kind of it, man. I mean, Hollywood is just like, other than the arena that you see a lot of people, it's just like Main Street, Houston. I mean, everybody has the same problems. Everybody has the same issues. It's just the path that you're choosing. I'd hate to be the mayor of Houston at this moment, right? Or any big city. I mean, you're in the limelight, and everyone in the world, is pulling on you to be something or to do something. And you have to look at the big picture. How does this satisfy the city, right? That is a daunting task to me.
Yeah, that's difficult in the public eye like that, especially when you're, and you have to control a lot of different departments, right? So it's really, running a business is kind of the same situation, right? So there's a lot of eyeballs on you that you don't realize that they're on you, and you
Or
make a
running
decision.
a family.
Exactly. So
You got
you make a
3
decision.
kids that are watching you, and you have to be the example. But you also have to look at how you take care of that whole unit of people, that business, right? So I mean, like I say, it's not that different. People like to think, oh wow, Hollywood, whatever, or whatever. I mean, your life is just a smaller version of the bigger picture that's happening out there, and that should be able to sort of calm you in a sense to say, okay, all I need to do is contribute right here, and then as it grows, it grows.
So, looking back on your career, what are a couple of things that you're most proud of? And then after that, let's talk about like what's the future hold for Uchenna, So what's the next amazing adventure? If you could just give us kind of like a little sneak peek, or a little bit behind the curtain. So it's a two-pronged question,
Right. The first part of the question
what are you most proud of?
Yeah, fairly easy. I mean, the number one thing is I'm proud to each morning to have an opportunity to go at bat again. Okay. Seems simple, but there's a lot we can complain about and not be grateful for. But at the end of the day, each morning we get up, we have another chance at being better, doing better, or helping somebody else, right? I've had Fritz, that's a lot harder question than I thought, because I've had some great things happen, from athletics through college, and, just really great things have happened. And a really good friend of mine said that you can't live in the past. And you can take those things that have happened, and they are what occurred in your life, but they aren't necessarily who you are. So I'm kind of forward focused. I'm trying to be as forward focused as possible. I'm proud of everything that I've done, and I hope my mom up in heaven is thinking, okay, well done, young man. You know what I mean? I say young man because I want to remain a young man, but well done. And now it's like it is looking forward. What's the next adventure? Where can I contribute next? So the sneak peek into the future. I'm drawn to. We did a project. In fact, we did a project together, the scavenger hunt deal, where people were able to engage with the city and then also be rewarded for their efforts of exploring. So citywide adventure game is sort of on the horizon right now. And I'm also, which is in alignment with the coaching, is I'm putting together an ecosystem, a team of people to help with, in fact, one of my challenges, and just your level of vulnerability, keep saying stuff that makes me have to be vulnerable. And now I got to be courageous, right? And just say what it is, right?
Sorry about that.
I think, but around the concepts and understanding of money, not how to be rich, but what to do with the 10 cents that you have, and how to find ways of looking at it. I mean, you have kids now that are making more money in college than professional athletes. And again, not coming from a great deal of money, I have some beliefs, some limiting beliefs that I'm trying to overcome, vulnerability there. And I've started to find people that are way more smarter than me who want to contribute, right? Who want to contribute to that mind, that shift, that paradigm shift. And when I say underserved, I don't just mean people who don't have much money. There's people out there with a great deal of money who they don't understand generational wealth. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that I want to learn. And I figure I can bring more people in to learn it with me. And instead of me trying to be the answer, I'm seeking the answer for others to join me in getting the answers. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it sounds like you're creating a community of like-minded individuals to really teach the community and pour into the community the wisdom and the pearls that they have to elevate everyone, either meet them where they're at, elevate them. So
Right.
I'd love to see and be a part of that community or that business model, right? And maybe some folks on the call should reach out to you and see if they would also, get on the boat with you, right?
Well, thank you for making me step out, okay, and say that out loud. I'll just say for everybody's sake, it's scary. I'm very uncomfortable, and I'm talking about stuff, doing something that is outside of my knowledge base, but it's all in a spirit of contribution. So let's see what happens. So there's your sneak peek, Fritz.
There it is. I love it. I love it. We're actually at the top of the hour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? So if you have one word to say to the audience, it's gonna be like 5 like real bullet questions. One word to say to the audience.
Okay, this is what I've put on my desk. Choose courage over comfort.
Okay.
That's it. Choose courage over comfort.
Okay. So, are you a coffee guy or are you a tea guy?
I'm a tea guy.
You're a tea guy. Okay.
Yeah.
What is your favorite color?
My favorite color is the color of blue.
Blue?
Yeah, I like gold too, but that's a hard one for me because I like rainbows. So anyway.
All right. So, favorite show or show that you're watching right now, and a show that you would recommend to the audience to watch or programming.
Okay. Currently, I like period pieces, so like things like the Bridgertons and stuff like that. I like a lot, but I recommend watching Blue Zones.
Oh yeah, that's a great.
I've been reading books about longevity. Now that I'm 123 years old, I think I got to start thinking about these things. And if you want to say, you might ask about books, so I might as well just throw this out there. There's a book called How Not to Die, which is pretty interesting. As we get older, we need to look at how we can supplement our diets, because that's where the real medicine is. Life Force, which is by Tony Robbins, which is a great book, kind of looking into the future and how technology is there for you. And I'm digging into his other book called Money Master the Game. There you go. There's 3 books.
All right. Fantastic. You know what, Uchenna, thank you. I'm going to open it up if it's okay it's okay? Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to open it up. If anybody has any questions, feel free to either put it in the chat.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Expect that there, buddy.
Okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
We'll filter the questions. How's that?
Let's go for it.
If there's any questions.
Yeah.
So.
As questions are being formulated to blow me up, I really appreciate you making time to have me on, especially in the face of all these things. Again, if you look at what's happening and how people are readjusting their lives after COVID, hope is one of those things that I've just learned is a teachable thing, because hope isn't like this whole wishing, it's really about how we think through.
So I guess I got a text. I'm sorry, Uchenna, I got a text.
Sure.
Someone just wants to know, how can how can they reach you? You know, what are the platforms you are on? How can they reach you? What, you know, what's your LinkedIn
Okay.
or Instagram? What's your preferred method of someone reaching out to you?
We can do Instagram is the easiest way. The Uchenna Agu, the underscore Uchenna Agu. And
Can
that's,
we put that in the chat?
yeah, or Facebook or Instagram. I'm actually starting to get more involved in Instagram. It's just so many platforms out there to keep track of, and I'm going to come to you to help me understand how to kind of funnel that stuff all into more one place. But Instagram is, you know, I pop on and off there probably most,
Okay.
and from there I'll give whoever my email address and go from there.
And I think this, and somebody else just texted me, they asked if, do you do, because they heard that you do one-on-one coaching, but do you do group coaching? Or because they said they, you know, you said primarily men, but do you do one-on-one coaching and or group coaching as well? And do you do it for organizations or just as a
I haven't done any organizational coaching, but group coaching is definitely on the rise. When you start to get more like-minded people together, and then it becomes more of a collaborative coaching scenario. And then what I've been focused on a lot lately is I call it fractional coaching, where we you know, it's a short-term coaching scenario. Hey, I've got X coming up, and then we reverse engineer it. And much like a trainer at a gym, we figure out where your goal is, and then we reverse engineer it, and then work our way through making that happen through a process. So yes, is the answer. And it's not only men. However, I've worked with men primarily because we don't talk a lot, and it takes us a lot to get through things, and I have a lot of relatable stuff. When it comes to women, I think I have to work a little bit harder to not mansplain and do different things like that. And it's like I become that guy telling, you know. Anyway.
Okay, all right. So, I just want to say thank you for being on the Marketing Maverick with Fritz, right? So this series is fantastic. We always bring incredible speakers, incredible personalities on. You know, our goal is to pour into the community, right? And get pulled into the direction that's going to elevate our vibration and our conscious with Uchenna or building our brand or marketing. So the next one would be the last Thursday of every Friday with Fritz. But Uchenna, I'd like to say thank you for your time and thank everyone for showing up.
Thank you. And I'm going to be making an appointment with you ASAP, Fritz, because we have some marketing things that we got to get done. And I know you're the man to do it. So thank you all for being here. And thank you for your time, Fritz. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you for making this another great episode. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having both of you.